Hello, all. I hope you are all having or had a successful and productive week, enjoyable week as well. We are continuing with our weekly portion review, and this week we are in the portion, parasha of Tetzaveh, which means command. Tzivui, mitzvah, the 613 commandments, they all stem from this concept, from this word. And so Moses tells us, and that's how we open up the portion with, and you shall command the children of Israel. This is what God is requiring from Moses. We should note over here that Moses' name is not actually mentioned, and this is the only portion in the books of Exodus, Leviticus, and Numbers where we don't see his name at all. And there are very interesting reasons to this, but that's a discussion for another time. However, this week I want to focus a little on the high priest, the Kohen's garments. Now, all the high priest garments that are described in this weekly portion are the most fabulous and respectable clothes. Yet it's strange that the high priest himself walks barefoot in the tabernacle and eventually, of course, in the temple in Jerusalem. Now, we could say that this is because the sanctity of the place, the high priest decides to nullify himself towards the sanctity, showing humility. But there could be another explanation that I would like to explore. Now, shoes, beyond their basic function of protecting feet from thorns or stones, they also carry a significant symbolic weight. Now, we could see this as civilization or humanity versus nature. The human ability to shield himself from the raw, untamed forces of the environment. Now, these forces are not moral. They were just given to us. They're there. When a person is fully exposed to the nature and all its raw power, they can lose their moral identity. And so people wear shoes to avoid this kind of contact. Now, when a person is in a holy place, there's no such danger because that's where one could actually connect to sanctity of nature. And precisely there, it is forbidden to be with shoes. We see this, of course, with Moses and the burning bush. Now, there are two types of sanctities. There is the ordinary sanctity, and in the words of Rabbi Kook, this is the sanctity that requires a person to actively distance himself from the natural world and all its influences. This means that in the pursuit of this type of sanctity, we make a conscious effort to detach from natural desires, impulses, and even from the physical world in a certain extent. And we see these in different versions of the commandments that we have. One must separate from nature to be able to transcend it. Now, there's another version of a more sublime version of sanctity, and this is the sanctity in nature. And it comes from God himself to nature, and we have to try to detect it. Now, this is a sanctity that's much harder to reveal or detect because its initial encounter with nature, with our initial encounter with nature, we encounter what could be perceived as evil because nature is indifferent to human values and its ethics. And this indifference can manifest in various ways. For example, like natural disasters. Nature is not a moral entity. It doesn't have free will. And humans are defined as moral entities because moral means choosing between good and evil. A person who meets nature faces a conflict, whether to follow nature and to be without free will and to become amoral, or to take nature with him and use it for the good, for sanctification. How is this done? The Torah teaches us that first we encounter ordinary sanctity. And with the guidance of God's commandments, as we mentioned earlier, after we learn how to and become accustomed to overcoming it and controlling this nature, only then can we move to the second sanctity, the sanctity in nature. And this was the case, of course, when the Israelites entered the land. They were initially commanded by God to nullify all the places of idol worship, which were used originally as raw connection to nature. Only once that's done, and once they are settled in their land with their commandments, can they finally come to the temple, where they could walk barefoot and discover the sanctity in nature through fire, blood, incense, but all in the proper orientation and in the proper context. So there's a lesson we could learn from the high priest, and we should be inspired by him to approach the sacred with respect and to connect deeply with the world around us and to find within nature and ourselves the extraordinary presence of Hashem, the Creator. I wish you all a Shabbat Shalom and a enjoyable weekend.